drivers afraid to get behind the wheel back in 2003 after 24 shootings across central Ohio that started on Interstate 270.
Yeah, there was an extra sort of layer of fear that was captivating, folks in central Ohio.
A task force made up of 10 law enforcement agencies created a search for the I-270 shooter after 62-year-old Gail Nicely was shot and killed a few days before Thanksgiving.
We started checking around with local law enforcement agencies, especially in the 270 Obetz, Grove City area down there. We found out that there had been a number of reported shootings.
Now, 2 decades later, WSYX reuniting some members of that historic task force.
Can it really be 20 years?
Retired FBI agent Harry Trumbitis, former Franklin County Sheriff Zach Scott, current Sheriff Chief Deputy Rick Minard, and retired Franklin County Sheriff Chief Deputy Steve Martin, who oversaw that task force, together for the first time in years to talk about the serial shootings that lasted 10 months.
We literally had like stacks that filled up like a 6x8 room.
After 114 days working inside this emergency operations center, a break in the case. A tip called into the task force hotline leads to 28-year-old Charles McCoy Jr. Investigators finding a 9mm Beretta under his bed. Forensic tests linked McCoy's gun to several shootings, including Nicely's death.
He was a normal high school kid, was an average student.
But McCoy, nowhere to be found, fleeing after finding police at his home.
Charles said he pulled off to the side of the street and watched, and that's what kind of drove him to want to get out of town.
McCoy maxed out his credit cards and drove 2,000 miles to Las Vegas. But his life on the run, short-lived.
McCoy is sitting in jail right now at the CCDC waiting for his extradition hearing.
McCoy taken into custody on St. Patrick's Day 2004 at this hotel after someone called police.
Turned out that when he turned to accept my invitation of part of a pizza, I knew instantly who it was.
McCoy appearing in court the very next day.
You held a community at bay. You've held basically a hostage and terrorized a city.
And they fed him. He played computer games, and he was a happy little camper.
McCoy refused to speak to Las Vegas police, only to someone from Columbus.
It was one of those things where, did he have some mental health issues? He did, absolutely, there's no doubt about it. But he was lucid enough to know, I'm in trouble here now.
Detectives learning from family members McCoy had a history of mental illness and did not like to take his medication.
They were telling us about Charles tearing up the bedroom, tearing out the walls, hearing the voices, and that the voices, apparently if he was able to shoot the gun, the voices would get quieted.
Investigators discovering even more evidence after seizing McCoy's car in Vegas.
Because when he would shoot out of the window, I think he probably shot out the window, those rounds would end up in the dashboard.
McCoy flown home days later on the FBI director's plane, which proved to be a rough ride as the flight prepared to land in Columbus.
So they fly in this mountain, and I'm telling you, it looked like something out of an Indiana Jones movie. We were dropping so hard and banking so hard.
McCoy originally facing 24 charges. After McCoy's first trial ended in a mistrial, he pled guilty to 11 charges, including Nicely's shooting death, and sentenced to 27 years. McCoy still remaining on task force members' minds long after he confessed to his crimes. Harry Trumbitis visiting McCoy over the years.
He was very lucid. He could tell you what he had for breakfast, what he's been doing, stuff he's reading, all of that stuff. And so clearly, he was back on his medication.
If he gets out and he doesn't take his medication, is he going to do it again? And I don't think anybody else wants to be responsible for another shooting or another homicide.
This is a current photo of McCoy on the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections website. He is serving his 27-year sentence right now in a prison in Lima. McCoy's expected release, listed by the state, is in about 7 years, March 10th, 2031. Steve Levine, WSYX News.